Hello everyone and welcome to our second segment of Unleashed Chat. I'm Paul.
And I'm Lara.
And we are so pleased to have a brilliant director, Mr. Stephen Barlow, with us.
Hey.
So Stephen, tell us a bit more about you. Where are you from and what operas and musical theatre works have you directed?
I will answer that question, but like a true politician, I'm going to just start off by saying I'm really thrilled to be here, to be your first guest, a real honour, and I really think this is such an important subject matter. It's something that is really close to my heart and I feel really passionate about. So I really support this. And I'm really glad I get an opportunity to, I think, probably agree with a lot of the things you think. I was born in Australia, in Melbourne. I think you were born in Melbourne.
No, I'm born in Far North Queensland.
Oh, okay. Well, same side of a very big country. But we're both Aussies. I was born in Melbourne, Australia, grew up there. My father was British, so I got a British passport. So I have two passports. So I moved to, when I was 9, I decided I was going to move to London and work in the theatre. I didn't know what as, I just knew that I was going to live in London and work in the theatre, and I did, and that's what I do. I have been directing operas and musicals for 22 years. Wow. Well, not always full time, but I started out, my first directing job was in 1995. I'm not good at maths, but I think that's 22 years. So yeah, I've been doing it for a long time, and I've directed, as you say, I've directed shows at the Met, at Covent Garden, a lot in Europe, in Danish National Opera, and in Australasia. Just come back from directing a show in Australia. And I've directed in Romania, and where I met this handsome young man in a production of Rigoletto. And I've since been back to Romania to direct a little-known musical that you probably haven't heard of, obscure little piece called The Phantom of the Opera. Plug. I have indeed crossed over in both directions between the two. As a director, I don't think there should be this barrier between the two. For me, it's about telling a story to music. And whether it's Richard Rodgers or Richard Wagner, to me it makes no difference. Of course, there's a lot of difference in the music and the type of singers that you have, and some of the stuff, no doubt, you'll talk about. But for me, there's absolute equality. I do not rate an opera singer as a better person than a musical theatre performer, or vice versa. I think they're equal. They require very different skills, but they're all very difficult.
So Stephen, in your work, have you encountered a lot of snobbery?
Between musical theatre and opera, definitely, actually, and it really riles me, it really annoys me. I've been on audition panels where a conductor might say, for instance, oh, she's done too many musicals, or oh, too much Sondheim, or something, as if doing Sondheim was somehow a liability when you're a musical theatre, or when you're a singer. As you know, it's some of the most difficult material ever written.
So Stephen, in a casting, does it ever hinder a performer if they have too many musical theatre credits or opera credits, or vice versa?
For me, definitely not. But I know for some casting directors and opera conductors, too many musicals on a CV will be seen as a weakness, that they haven't got a strong voice perhaps. And I think possibly the other way around it would happen as well. I can imagine there'd be West End auditions where a person who's done a lot of opera turns up, and the casting director, he or she might be worried, they might have a perception that person's possibly not a very good actor because there is an opera singer, because there's this prejudice, and this actually not just prejudice, but this complete misconception that you're both aware of, that people think, oh, opera singers can't act, and the musical theatre people don't really sing, and both of those are completely wrong.
So I would like to ask you, how do you see the future? Do you see that the things are changing a little bit? How do we go from here?
Well, I think it is changing, and you guys are part of the revolution, which is great. No, but seriously, I think it is changing. As you know, and a lot of people watching this will know, opera companies around the world are now starting to do more and more musicals in their repertoire, because musicals put bums on seats. It's about finances, not necessarily artistic choice. But it's a good thing, because a lot of opera singers are now crossing over into musicals. Renee Fleming, the most famous American opera singer at the moment, is doing, as you probably know, a production of Carousel on Broadway next year. So that's a really big deal, I think. And I think that is changing. And I think with opera companies doing musicals, that is going to help to break down some of the snobbery in the profession. So I think as we go forward, I hope that guys like you and the people behind you, the next generation of singers, who they feel that they can do both, that they can be in a musical and or be in an opera and cross freely between the two.
And how do we change as well the casting directors, their minds? Because as you know, there are a lot of prejudice when you're casting an opera singer. If they, as you said, how do we change this?
Well, interesting enough, the other day I was having a drink with Lucy Schaefer, who's a wonderful American performer who does have this really incredible crossover career. She does both, equally brilliantly. I'm a huge fan of Lucy, and she's a friend as well. And she was saying, one of the problems is that, of course, in opera you tend to get booked up to sometimes 3-4 years ahead. Yeah. So West End shows are never casting 4 years ahead. Right. So someone like Lucy will have credits, or not a whole diary plan, but a lot of stuff already booked in. So it makes it hard, perhaps, for a West End casting director to cast them, because they would then have to get out of all those jobs. And if you've signed contracts, that can be difficult. Yeah. You upset managements, although it happens quite a lot, but still, that does make it difficult. And also opera singers do get used to only doing maybe 3 shows a week. We know that's because they're not amplified, and there are very good reasons for that, but at the same time they're singing over an orchestra pit with no microphone and no mixing of sound. They might be worried about suddenly doing 8 shows a week. So I think there are some of the problems are those technical issues that have to be overcome. Can you go from being an opera singer to singing on a mic? You must know it's a very different skill.
Yeah, it is.
So Stephen, on that subject, for people that are studying at the Royal College or Guildhall or any other classical institution, do you think that it's better that these singers have training in other genres to make them more employable?
Definitely. I think if musical theatre students are learning about opera, then I think opera students should learn a bit more about musical theatre. I have worked with a lot of those colleges here in London and elsewhere, and I find that there is a kind of a brick wall between the two. I mean, Guildhall has a wonderful opera school and has a wonderful acting course, and they do musicals every year, but the two, I don't think, I may be wrong, don't ever overlap at all. And the Royal Academy of Music has a wonderful musical theatre school, and it has a wonderful opera school. Once again, I'm not sure how much overlap there is, and I think that is a shame. I've just been working in Brisbane in the Conservatorium of Music, which is one of the great music colleges, opera colleges in Australia, probably the greatest in Australia, and they also have a brilliant musical theatre department. So I saw a fantastic production of West Side Story with all musical theatre people, and then I did an opera production with all opera people, and I said afterwards, it's a shame that it wasn't more crossover, because actually West Side Story could have had a lot more classical singing in it, because that's very difficult singing. Bernstein, it is operatic.
That's right.
Let's face it. And I could have seen there was a scope for musical theatre people being in the operas that I did. And I said, why don't you guys next year do Candide or something, so you can actually put the two schools together, because there shouldn't be musical theatre over here and opera over here. Why not, mix it up a bit more? Because I think that's what you guys are hoping will happen more. And I think it could start, or should start, even at education level.
Well, thank you very much, Stephen, for coming and joining us on the couch. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you both.
We hope you feel inspired by this wonderful talk. We're so grateful that you came to see us today, Stephen. And write your comments, leave us your opinions. Let us hear from you.
And unleash your voice.
Da!